Bad news from Switzerland, very bad news for Blatten. And after the bad news, more bad news. So Tuesday night, they said this is the largest glacier collapse since the evacuation of Blatten. The situation is very, very tense. And then Wednesday, again, even larger. The glacier front was recently moving already with great speed, on average about 10 meters per day. That is a lot. It used to be like 1.5 meters. So it has doubled from one day to the other to go down 10 meters per day. And it's still unclear whether and when the people of Blatten will be able to return to their village. There is absolutely no way that they can do this right now because it's very, very dangerous right now. And I will tell you right now how far this rock slide, glacier slide has reached towards the village. Almost. Let's dissect this. So in the Blatten landslide area where the mountain has already lost its top, its peak, basically 81 meters shorter is the mountain right now. In the Blatten landslide area, in the Löschtal, in the Lösch Valley, in Valais in Switzerland, the glacier collapses have increased. And with glacier collapse, I mean the break-offs of the glacier, not the whole glacier, but cracking and big chunks of the glacier coming down towards the village of Blatten. And they have increased significantly, so one after the other. So during the night into Tuesday, a large avalanche that consisted of a mixture of ice, rock, snow, and water broke loose. But it did not penetrate to the valley floor. It just stopped 400 meters before the valley was stopped by a wall that they built, by a berm that they built. So this massive debris cone that has formed right on top of the Birch Glacier in recent days is threatening to come down even further as a whole, which would be absolutely catastrophic, or in pieces. But 9 million tons at least, probably more, are sitting on the glacier right now. But now, Wednesday, large glacier collapse in the evening, again even larger than the one before. So another major glacial avalanche of ice, rock, and snow occurred at 6 p.m. Around 1,000 cubic meters of debris, and they say thundered down the valley. It was a scary sound. You could really hear it, snapping and sweeping away numerous trees and really waltzing down towards the village. And it stopped basically only 400 meters away above the Lonza River. The village was also not breached. And we know the Lonza River, if it blocks the Lonza River, then Blatten has another problem. And it not only Blatten, also other villages in the area up and downstream. So close. And if there's even more breaking down, now the trees have been snapped. Basically, the highway is paved. They can get further down. This is the absolute largest glacier avalanche since the evacuation of Blatten began. And one thing, guys, that I want you to know that is very interesting, because in my last video, I compared it to the landslide in Brienz and to the landslide in other villages. And you see the devastation that these landslides have done. And then you look at the mountain and like, that little hill did do that? This came from this, wasn't even as tall, wasn't even as steep. But what we're dealing with here is a huge mountain, a huge piece of rock. So if that comes down, this is a total different league. And that's why experts are saying what might be happening here, what is about to happen here with Blatten, could be the biggest landslide / mountain fall, rock slide, glacier breaking disaster that has ever happened in Switzerland. And I want to compare it to the other events that they have seen, also when it comes to the masses, the weight that is coming down towards Blatten. And that is really very interesting. So what dimensions does Blatten have compared to other landslides? So the rock slide in Brienz, Graubünden, I have reported about this last year, and started 2 years ago, is still fresh in most people's minds. It's approximately 1.2 million cubic meters of debris fell. Fortunately, the massive flow of debris has stopped shortly before the village, sparing Brienz, but the pictures are absolutely mind-blowing that that village was so lucky. But if something like this happened, that would not likely be the case in Blatten. Blatten would not be spared. Blatten lies in the acute danger zone, not next to it, right in it. And there's the threat of this much, much larger landslide with up to 3 or even 5 million cubic meters, and the danger is high. That's what the experts are saying. So if that was to happen in Blatten, this landslide would be part of the biggest one ever, of a few that are really, really large. So I have a table here that shows historic landslides in Switzerland. The volume is in cubic meters. So in 1806, Goldau, 40 million cubic meters. 1991, Randa, 30 million. 1881, Elm, 10 million. 2025, Blatten, 5 million so far. Is this table correct? Because we know that it's probably more by now. 2017, Bondo, 3 million. 1965, Mattmark, 2 million. And 2023, Brienz with 1.2 million. So Blatten is already 4 times at least what has happened in Brienz. But this is the current status quo. If the whole thing comes down, this will go up the ranks that you see here. How much? It's hard to tell. That is something we will know afterwards. And it has already surpassed the disaster in Bondo in the canton of Graubünden in Switzerland. It has claimed 8 lives in 2017 with a volume of 5 million cubic meters. The event in Blatten would be among the largest in Swiss history that is affecting people. Thankfully, everyone's evacuated. It would only affect structures and belongings, no lives. So if that comes down, major disasters of this kind have occurred only 3 times. In 1881, Elm in the canton of Glarus, over 100 people were lost in a massive landslide of 10 million cubic meters. So that is not that much more than we have. We probably have more than 5 million by now. So over 100 people, thankfully, technologically, everything's more advanced. Everyone is out. So massive landslide of 10 million cubic meters, largely caused by years of slate mining in the region. So this was self-made. The current situation in Blatten is due to exclusively natural factors. There's no mining, there's nothing going on, because some of you have asked. Experts suspect a connection with the snow melt and the lack of permafrost. So the ice that was holding the rocks together is making the mountain brittle right now. And also the melting water acts like lubricant. Then we have the debris avalanche in 1991 in Randa in the canton of Valais, was 3 times larger so far, but fortunately there nobody was injured. And in 1806, as many as 40 million cubic meters of rocks have thundered into the valley of Schwyz, destroying the villages of Goldau, Röthen, and parts of Bosingen and Lauerz. And here it comes. It has ended 457 people. That's what these landslides can do, and that's why authorities are saying there's no way you can go back. And some of you have asked, well, can't they go just for 3 hours, get their belongings? No, because this thing can come at any time, any second without warning. And then if you just have the people in at that second, there is no escape. Only the largest known landslide in what is now Switzerland, and probably in all of Europe, had a larger volume than the one in Schwyz. The Flims landslide in Graubünden, that was 9,000 years ago, after the last ice age, between 9 and 12 billion cubic meters of limestone tumbled into the depth, several times the volume of the entire freestanding Matterhorn. That's the big mountain in Zermatt. 3 times the mass, has created an entire new landscape, the famous Rhine Gorge. That just on a side note, but that tells you what these landslides can do. So 5 million cubic meters of rock, probably more by now. How much is this? So a landslide with a volume of 5 million cubic meters would be massive and difficult to comprehend if all of that comes down. So the Prime Tower, that's 126 meters, is the tallest building in Zurich, in Switzerland. And it has a volume of 228,000 cubic meters. So if that much rock really thundered into the valley in Blatten, it would be equivalent to the volume of 22 prime towers filled with rock. So imagine that, 22 thundering down towards that beautiful little village of Blatten. That's how massive that would be. And you see the animation here, right? You see how massive that is compared to other buildings. So what would they do once this enormous amount of rock has landed in the valley? They need to get rid of it. To dispose this enormous amount of rock, approximately 500,000 truckloads would be needed, guys. 500,000, like 500,000 40-ton trucks. That's the maximum permitted weight for trucks on Swiss roads, by the way. So 500,000 trucks. So each truck can carry approximately 10 cubic meters of solid rock per trip. How long would that take? So trucks in Switzerland are allowed to be a maximum of 18.75 meters long. So if the 500,000 vehicles required were lined up bumper to bumper in a convoy, the result would be a traffic jam of over, it's crazy guys, 9,000 kilometers. So that's equivalent if you travel the distance from Zurich to Beijing in China. Crazy. Because many people are like, that little bit of rock, that little bit of landslide. No. And this comes down from quite high above. So this has some juice with it. It comes at speed. So the Berg Glacier that is below the rockfall, below the avalanche, roughly 9 million tons of debris have accumulated. It is shifting at high speed. And according to experts, it will break off soon. It won't hold it much longer. So they say if it breaks all at once, parts or larger parts of the village will be buried. The Berg Glacier was a risk factor for quite a while. So it is under surveillance since the 1990s. And the current threat is of course also linked to snowmelt. Good thing is, population is safe, situation remains very tense. Geologists have by now installed cameras and GPS devices, and the measurements that they're getting right now show a rapid acceleration of the movements. And that's also what we see in the latest videos. So we are seeing repeated rock slides and audible collapses. Experts make it clear the danger of a major rock slide is acute. Deep cracks have opened up in the glacier and in the mountain. Wednesday morning, the authorities have released interesting graphics and statements that, of course, I want to share with you. So they said Wednesday morning, during the night, a lot of glacial mass reaches the valley. A complete collapse of the glacier did not occur that night either. Nevertheless, more glacial mass entered the valley than ever before since the current monitoring began, and since the significant break that already happened on Tuesday evening, a significant increase in glacier eruptions has been observed. Never since measurements began had so much ice material been recorded breaking away from the glacier in only one night. And around 4 a.m., just a little earlier, another massive break occurred, again releasing an enormous amount of material. And once again, probably thousands of cubic meters of material were released. And they have conducted a thermal imaging. And that is interesting. The thermal imaging drone that they're using and that they were flying over the glacier with night vision also impressively has confirmed these observations. The debris cone accumulating in the valley had almost doubled in size compared to the previous evening. Doubled in size. And the avalanche control dam that they have there continued to fulfill its function. Thankfully, it's holding. The sliding debris was diverted westward and flowed into uninhabited areas. Great. They're doing the same like the Icelanders with their eruptions, building like a protection wall around critical infrastructure and the village of Grindavik, and it has diverted the lava so far. So they're doing this with this avalanche. So look at this thermal image. The blue zone shows the deposits in the valley, and on the left, an avalanche control dam holds back the main mass. And on the right, several scree branches branch off to the west, but nothing on the left. So it's working for now. So for now, they said through the night, the glacier remained very unsteady. And they say further ice falls and debris falls are to be expected. And what they're also saying, the changes are clearly visible. There's several thousand cubic meters of ice and rock have broken away from the glacier front and shifted downhill. And they're showing us these two pictures for comparison. Another thing that they're increasingly noticing is the meltwater that flows from the glacier into the Erdrutsch. That's a little stream that comes down basically from the mountain. That's not the river that they're worried about that this might be clogged. This is a little stream, but that is also coming down into Blatten and also flows into the Lonsa that they're so worried that this might be clogged. It has a strikingly brown color now, that little stream. That's an indication that we see larger quantities of debris and fine material that's being carried along. So the situation is so tense, guys. Let's hope for the best. I will keep you updated. If you want to know what happened, check out the videos in the end screen, but also check out what's going on in Campi-Flegrei. That was the most shocking new data and study that I have ever reported about. And I've been reporting about all the studies, but this is basically like, it can happen at any time. We could see something devastating at Campi-Flegrei. For me, the results of these studies are, get out. So check out the end screen, guys. Thanks for watching. If you're new here, I would love to have you on my channel more often. Subscribe. We are really a nice group of, nature freaks that are interested in what nature is doing. And if you want to support the channel, guys, I have a Buy Me a Coffee site. Link is in the description of this video. I answer every coffee with a 30-second video message. And the cool thing is you can video me back so we can see each other, and then I can video you back. So let's do this. I see you there. Bye-bye, guys.